I got to talk about this USC sports and the NCAA because it's not just this issue. It's Reggie Bush. It's Dwayne Jarrett. It's O.J. Mayo. Now, of course, Joe McKnight is the latest to have some issues.
Show me the money!
Right now, I'm going to make a general statement. And I'm saying it's a general statement because you can find anomalies that will go against this. But I'm going to make a general statement, and then I'm going to tell you why. I'm of the opinion that no matter what school you go to, Division I, Division II, or Division III, you will find rules, according to the NCAA, that are being broken or ignored. I'll say that. No matter what school you go to, Division I, Division II, or Division III, you will find rules that are being broken or ignored. Now, why? I operate with the understanding that no matter how hard you try, things slip through the crack. Or you just don't know. The NCAA rule book that looks like a telephone book is much like the U.S. tax code. In short, it's a mess. Now, folks that can't see past their fandom will attack me like I've had some people attack me and say, you can't make that statement unless you can prove it. Well, I don't really have to. But here's the deal. Every school goes into panic mode when they know the NCAA is coming to campus. Much like every honest working John on the street goes into panic mode when they get that letter that says you're being audited by the IRS.
Oh, Lord Jesus Christ, damn it.
And why? Why? It's because you can't do everything that the NCAA wants you to do and cross every T and dot every I, and they hire people to do it. Every school is probably breaking rules because the NCAA rule book is a mess. And as much as they try, it's hard to do. The universities cannot control a kid that's out on the street and somebody wants to hand them some money, whether it's alumni, anybody. They can't do it. And as much as you try to control 150 kids in a football program or 15 kids in a basketball program or whatever, 30 kids in a baseball program, it's hard. It took kids dying in summer workouts in order for the NCAA to allow school staff to be at summer workouts. A kid had to die before they allowed that. That's always been one of my issues when things happen during the summer and stuff like that. Mac Brown can't even have a lot of contact with his players. So as long as he can't do that, how are you going to hold somebody accountable and responsible for somebody they can't have a lot of contact with? Now, unless you have one staffer for every student athlete and that staffer is with them 24 hours a day, you will have breakdowns. And regardless of how many people like myself that universities pay, they bring them in, they speak to university student athletes about choices, the risk you expose the school to, all kinds of stuff, you're going to get bad decisions. So I operate under the understanding that things go wrong at every university in the country because that's the kind of issues that big book called the NCAA manual that coaches get tested on, that's the problem with it. Now, with all that said, let's talk about USC. I'm a Pac-10 homer. I love the Pac-10. We had Reggie Bush and his issues. His parents moved from a 2-bedroom apartment to a 3,000-square-foot home in the hills and got the travel and hotel paid for a trip up to a Cal game. Yahoo kept digging on it, but somehow the NCAA can't do anything. Dwayne Jarrett living with Matt Leinart, and Matt Leinert's dad is footing the bill, which is against the rules. Not an unwise investment for Papa Leinart because Jarrett helped Matt, go in the first round. Now, O.J. Mayo got his coach Tim Floyd canned, even though he's been shady everywhere because of cash payments to handlers, and that has AAU and the mess that is AAU and college basketball written all over it. He didn't stick around long enough to get any real consequences. Now Joe McKnight is driving a Land Rover that apparently a USC booster-type supporter bought as a favor for McKnight's girlfriend's parents. So let me get this straight. McKnight has a girlfriend. His girlfriend works for this guy. He bought her a Land Rover as a favor to her parents, and she works for him. Now, Stevie Wonder could see that that's a mess. But people are saying they've been seeing Joe McKnight driving that car on campus, and, of course, Joe McKnight saying he doesn't drive the car. It's his girlfriend's car. The NCAA is not going to do anything. for all of the good things that they do, like the Leadership Academy that I was honored to speak at earlier this year in Indianapolis at the NCAA headquarters, for all the goodness that they do, they're not going to pound the big programs. They're not going to pound the historical programs. That's the reason why Albert Means can go from Memphis to Alabama for $200,000. A booster ends up falling down the stairs and he dies holding a salad, but blood's everywhere all over the house. All this extra stuff that goes on, all the mess that goes on in the SEC, the mess that goes on everywhere, Big Red Auto Imports in Norman, the NCAA is not going to hammer the big boys. They're not. And I think it's something that everybody needs to realize. And as much as it stinks, I'm a USC guy. I really like USC. I really like the Pac-10, and I think something needs to be done at USC. Now, I do operate under the understanding that Pete Carroll can't control everything that all of his athletes do. He can't. It's not possible, and he can't. But he's got to follow his top 10 players a little bit closely. He's got to do a better job at getting into the minds, into the hearts, and to the lives of his 10 best players where this might be a risk. He's got to know what cars the stars are driving. Sorry. If he doesn't want that in his job description, you got to get back, coach. Every coach has the guy that's on the sideline telling everybody to get back before we get a penalty. Then you need to go find a top 10 coach. I need a coach that can go get into the lives. I need to know every kind of car they're driving. I need to know where they got it from. If you really want to be held accountable, do that. And if you turn a blind eye to it, then you probably need to be in trouble. I need to know if my player comes from a pretty depressed situation. One, because I need to know how to support him, because he may not have the support structure at home that a lot of my other players have. I need to know if he comes from a depressed situation. But I also need to know that because if he shows up in a Land Rover or a Navigator on 22s, I need to know where the hell it came from, because it's my program and my integrity at stake. And if Pete Carroll's not willing to do that and not willing to pay somebody to do that, they need to drop the hammer on him, historical program or not. It's just my opinion.